Hello dear students, today we will discuss about autoradiography and isotope dilution analysis, and our main objectives will be number first, to study the principle of autoradiography, number second, to know about the historical background of the technique, third, to study the procedure of autoradiography, fourth, to analyze the principle of isotope dilution analysis, and the fifth will be to know the various isotope dilution analysis methods. Autoradiography, a technique using X-ray film to visualize molecules or fragments of molecules that have been radioactively labeled. Now the principle of autoradiography. It is the technique of recording an image of a preparation containing beta particle emitting radioactivity using photographic film, X-ray sensitive film, an emulsion or other radiation sensitive medium. The samples are placed directly against the film for a period of time to allow radioactive emissions from the sample to interact with the film emulsion and create an image. A photographic emulsion is a suspension of crystals of silver bromide embedded in gelatin. When the crystals of silver bromide are struck by charged particle or photon radiation, the silver atoms are ionized and form an invisible latent image. After exposure to the sample, the photographic grains in the emulsion are fixed using standard photographic developing, which removes silver bromide that has not been ionized. After the emulsion is developed, a small aggregate of reduced silver atoms becomes a visible dark spot on the emulsion. Collectively, they make the photographic image. Now coming to historical development. The first autoradiograph was made in 1859 by Crookes, who placed uranium rocks on photographic plates. Crookes could not understand the process by which the images were created until 37 years later when he visited the laboratory of Henry Becquerel. Becquerel discovered gamma rays from naturally radioactive uranium salts in 1896 when he placed uranium together with photographic plates that had been placed inside black paper to protect them from sunlight. This discovery closely followed the discovery of X-rays by Wilhelm Roentgen in 1895 using a Crookes electron tube. The earliest images were of poor quality. Autoradiographic techniques were improved by Leblanc, who in 1943 showed the microdistribution of iodine-131 in cells. In 1946, Belanger and Leblanc developed a method for locating radioactive elements in tissues by covering histological sections with a photographic emulsion. In 1953, techniques were developed for labeling nucleic acids and studying kinetics of cell mitosis and division. High-resolution techniques have more recently been employed for study of other metabolic and pharmacokinetic processes in molecular biology. Now coming to filmless autoradiography, a recent trend in the technique. Modern trends in autoradiography involve replacing high-speed X-ray film with radiation detector systems, laser scanners, and computer-based imaging systems. A variety of radiation detecting crystals have been developed for this purpose. The exposure time is also much less than that of conventional X-ray film, and samples may be processed at room temperature and without a dark room or chemicals for film developing. Applications of filmless autoradiography include two-dimensional gels, southern blots, northern blots, immunoblots, and quantitative polymerase chain reaction. Microchannel array detectors have been introduced to replace both X-ray film and phosphor screens. Now coming to procedure of autoradiography. First, prepare gel or blot, wrap wet samples in plastic wrap, tape the sample to the inside face of an X-ray cassette with enhancement screens. Along one side, fasten a phosphorescent ruler or other orientation aid. If a marker other than a ruler is used, be sure to include enough markers to unambiguously align the developed film to the sample. In the dark or under safe light, place one piece of X-ray film over the sample and then expose the film. Coming to applications of autoradiography. Autoradiography has a large number of practical applications in the biological, chemical and physical sciences because it provides both qualitative and quantitative information. It may be used to image large, small and microscopic specimens including sectioned whole organisms, organs, tissues, cellular structures and nucleic acids that contain some radiolabeled compound. Cells may be autoradiographed either in culture as a monolayer on a glass slide or on thinly sectioned living tissues from an animal organ or tumor. Autoradiography is used with electrophoresis or chromatography to image radiolabeled macromolecules and other separated chemicals for quantitative analysis. For example, for indicating the position of hybridized nucleic acids on southern blots and northern blots and of proteins on western blots. Coming to the application of autoradiography in drug discovery and development. Autoradiography has been used in drug discovery and development for several decades because it offers researchers a highly sensitive way to quantitatively assess the absorption, distribution, metabolism and excretion of chemical entities by incorporating a radioactive isotope in the structure of the drug molecule. The techniques of quantitative whole body autoradiography and microautoradiography, which rely on the use of radiolabeled drugs, are two techniques that are routinely used to examine tissue distribution of drugs. These techniques provide drug researchers with quantitative tissue concentration data and a visual location of those concentrations in intact organs, tissues and cells of laboratory animals. These techniques visualize total radioactivity, which can include the parent molecule along with its metabolites and degradation products or impurities. This requires investigators to treat the quantitative data with caution unless the identity of radioactivity is determined using some type of other bioanalytical techniques such as mass spectroscopy and radio HPLC, which can be easily performed on the tissue obtained from the animals used for quantitative whole body autoradiography and microautoradiography. Nevertheless, these data are used in drug discovery related to tissue penetration, fetal transfer, tissue retention, routes of elimination, drug-drug interactions, and enzyme induction or inhibition. Now coming to use of radioisotopes in elucidation of metabolic pathways. Radioisotopes are frequently used for tracing metabolic pathways. This usually involves adding a radioactive substrate, taking samples of the experimental material at various times, extracting and chromatographically separating the products. Radioactivity detectors can be attached to gas-liquid chromatography or high-performance liquid chromatography columns to monitor radioactivity coming off the column during separation. Alternatively, radioactivity can be located on paper or thin layer chromatography with either Geiger-Müller chromatograph scanner or with autoradiography. If it is suspected that a particular compound is metabolized by a pathway, then radioisotope can also be used to confirm this. For instance, it is possible to predict the fate of individual carbon atoms of acetate through Krebs cycle. Another example of the use of radioisotopes to confirm the mode of operation of a metabolic pathway is in studies carried out on glucose catabolism. There are numerous ways whereby glucose can be oxidized. The two most important ones in aerobic organisms being glycolysis followed by Krebs cycle together with pentose phosphate pathway. Frequently, organisms or tissues possess the necessary enzymes for both pathways to occur, and it is of interest to establish the relative contribution of each glucose oxidation. Both pathways involve the complete oxidation of glucose to carbon dioxide, but the origin of carbon dioxide in terms of the 6 carbon atoms of glucose is different. Thus, it is possible to trap the carbon dioxide evolved during the respiration and obtain an evaluation of the contribution of each pathway to glucose oxidation. The use of radioisotopes in studying the operation of Krebs cycle or in evaluating the pathway of glucose catabolism are just two examples of how such isotopes can be used to confirm metabolic pathways. Now coming to isotope dilution techniques. Isotope dilution is an analytical method for determining the quantity of chemical substances. The method of isotope dilution comprises the addition of known amounts of isotopically enriched substance to the analyzed sample. Mixing of the isotopic standard with the sample effectively dilutes the isotopic enrichment of the standard, and this forms the basis of the isotope dilution method. A known quantity of a compound containing an unknown quantity of a particular element is mixed with the spike. The specific activity of the spike is known precisely. So, the isotopic composition of the mixture can be used to calculate the amount of the element in the sample. A small amount of the mixture is isolated from the sample, weighed, and its specific activity is measured. The concentration of the inactive element in the sample may be estimated by the dilution of the radio tracer. Isotope dilution analysis can be applied to all elements that have two or more naturally occurring isotopes, provided that a spike enriched in one of the isotopes of that element is available. Isotope dilution is classified as a method of internal standardization because the standard is added directly to the sample. In addition, unlike traditional analytical methods which rely on signal intensity, isotope dilution employs signal ratios. Owing to both of these advantages, the method of isotope dilution is regarded among chemistry measurement methods of highest metrological standing. Analytical application of the radio tracer method is forerunner of isotope dilution. This method was developed in the early 20th century by George D. Hevesy, for which he was awarded Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1943. An early application of isotope dilution in the form of radio tracer method was determination of the solubility of lead sulfide and lead chromate in 1913 by George D. Hevesy and Friedrich Adolf Panth. Types of isotope dilution. Direct isotope dilution analysis. In direct method, we are faced with the problem of determining the amount of some inactive material A in a system. Let us define this unknown amount as x grams. To the system containing X grams of inactive A, we add Y grams of active material A asterisk of known activity D. Thus, we know the specific activity of the added active material S1, that is S1 is equal to D by Y. After thoroughly mixing the active material A asterisk with the inactive material A in the system, one isolates not necessarily quantitatively and purifies a sample of the mixture of A and A asterisk and measures its specific activity S2. Clearly, the conservation of material says that S2 is equal to D by X plus Y. Since Y is equal to D by S1, we can substitute Y for obtaining S2, which is equal to D by X plus D plus S1. Rearranging the equation, we get X is equal to Y into S1 divided by S2 minus 1. This is the basic equation of direct isotope dilution analysis. The unknown amount X of material A is given in terms of the amount Y of added labeled material A asterisk and the two measured specific activities S1 and S2. Thus, by isolating a small fraction of the added aspartic acid and measuring the diminution in its specific activity, the aspartic acid content of the original sample can be determined. Poor experimental design or other circumstances may lead to a small change in specific activity upon dilution. In such cases, the results obtained from isotope dilution analysis involve a small difference between two large numbers and are quite uncertain. Now, inverse isotope dilution analysis. Inverse isotope dilution analysis is a simple variant on the basic direct IDA. In inverse isotope dilution analysis, we measure the change in specific activity of an unknown radioactive material A asterisk after diluting it with inactive A. Specifically, let us assume that we have Q milligrams of a radioactive substance A asterisk whose specific activity is known. That is, SQ is equal to D by Q. SQ can be measured by isolating a small portion of A asterisk, weighing it and measuring its activity. Let us add R milligrams of inactive A to A asterisk and thoroughly mix the A and A asterisk. Suppose that we then isolate and purify some of the mixture and measure its specific activity SR. SR is equal to D by Q plus R, and so we have SR equal to D by Q plus R, which is equal to QSQ divided by Q plus R. Rearranging this equation, we have Q is equal to R by SQ by SR minus 1. The above equation is the basic equation of inverse isotope dilution analysis and indicates that the unknown amount Q of active material A asterisk can be deduced by adding R grams of inactive material A to A asterisk and measuring the specific activities before and after the addition SQ and SR respectively. Now coming to double isotope dilution analysis. Another variant on the basic isotope dilution technique is that of double isotope dilution, first proposed by Bloch and Anker. It is used in reverse IDA where the specific activity of the original unknown radioactive material A asterisk cannot be measured for some reason. Hence, a second dilution is made to determine the specific activity of the original sample. Consider a system containing an unknown amount Q of some active substance A asterisk whose specific activity A asterisk cannot be measured. Take two equal aliquots of this unknown substance A asterisk, add R milligrams of inactive A to one aliquot and P milligrams of inactive A to the other aliquot. Measure the specific activities of the two aliquots SR and SP respectively. For the first sample of specific activity SR, we have Q is equal to R by SQ by SR minus 1 and SQ is equal to SR plus R by QSR. For the second sample, we have Q is equal to P by SQ by SP minus 1, SQ is equal to SP plus P by Q into SP. Setting the two expressions for SQ equal, we have Q is equal to RSR minus PSP divided by SP minus SR. A major difficulty with double isotope dilution analysis is that because of the double dilution, the specific activities involved become low and therefore more uncertain. Now coming to advantages of isotope dilution. Isotope dilution analysis is a highly sensitive, selective analytical method capable of high precision. It offers the opportunity to determine the amount of material present in a system without the need for a quantitative separation of the material from the system. Partial loss of analyte during preparation is compensated for since physical and chemical interferences are not an issue and will cancel out as they will affect each isotope identically. Isotope dilution is classified as a method of internal standardization because the standard is added directly to the sample. In addition, unlike traditional analytical methods which rely on signal intensity, isotope dilution implies signal ratios. It is free from interference from other elements present and its accuracy is governed by the calibration of the spike solution. Now the disadvantages of the isotope dilution. Generally only applicable to multiple isotopic elements. Need for an enriched isotope spike for the analyte of interest. Not always available or sometimes at very high cost. Need two interference-free isotopes and is very time consuming. With this, we come to the end of this lecture. Hope you have enjoyed. Have a nice day.